My stepmother stole my inheritance, but she didn't know my fat. My name is Claire Morgan, and until I turned 26, I believed that blood always came before money. I was wrong. The day my father passed away, I lost more than a parent. I lost my home, my future, and the family I thought I had. My father, James Morgan, was a respected architect who had built a successful business from nothing. After my mother died, he married a woman named Victoria. She was charming in public, kind to strangers, the perfect wife, but behind closed doors, she treated me like I didn't belong. Every smile she gave me felt fake. Every hug felt forced. Dad never saw it, or maybe he refused to. When he suddenly passed away after a heart attack, my world collapsed overnight. The funeral was filled with people praising my father. Victoria cried louder than anyone. She looked like the perfect grieving widow. But the moment the last guest left, she looked at me with a cold smile. "You should start packing," she said. I stared at her. "What do you mean? This house belongs to me now." I laughed. My father would never throw me out. She slowly pulled a folder from the table. There was a new will. According to the document, everything belonged to Victoria. The house, the business, every bank account, every investment. And me? I received absolutely nothing. I felt like the floor disappeared beneath my feet. I wanted to scream. I wanted to accuse her of lying. But something inside me whispered, "Don't react, watch, wait." Because one thing kept repeating in my mind. 3 weeks before he died, my father had looked at me and said, "Claire, if anything ever feels wrong, trust the blue envelope." At the time, I didn't understand what he meant. Now, those 5 words became my only hope, and I had no idea that searching for one blue envelope would expose the biggest betrayal my family had ever hidden. The next morning, I returned to my father's house before sunrise. Victoria had changed every lock. She had even hired a security guard. The place where I grew up now felt like a stranger's mansion. As I turned to leave, an old voice stopped me. "Miss Claire." I looked back. It was Mr. Harris, my father's gardener for nearly 20 years. His hands were shaking as he walked toward me. "I've been looking for you." He slipped a tiny brass key into my hand. "Your father told me if anything happened to him, I was only allowed to give this to you." I stared at the key. "What does it open?" "I don't know," he whispered, "but he said you'd understand." Suddenly, the words came back. "Trust the blue envelope." I remembered my father's private office downtown. There was an old wooden desk with a hidden drawer. Only he and I knew about it. I rushed there immediately. The office was empty. Dust covered the furniture. My heart pounded as I inserted the small brass key into the hidden lock. Click. The drawer slowly opened. Inside, there was only one thing, a blue envelope. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a handwritten letter. "My dearest Claire, if you're reading this, something isn't right. I know you better than anyone. If you've come looking for this letter, it means someone has tried to take everything from you. Don't trust the will they show you. It's not the only one. The real documents are somewhere no one will ever think to search." I left proof, and I left it with the one person Victoria believes she controls, but doesn't. The letter ended with only 2 words. "Find Olivia." I frowned. Olivia. I searched my memory, then it hit me. Olivia was my father's personal assistant. She had suddenly quit her job just 2 weeks before he died. No goodbye, no explanation. She had simply disappeared. I grabbed my phone and searched her name. Nothing, no social media, no address, no phone number. It was as if she had vanished from the world. Just as I slipped the letter back into the envelope, my phone buzzed, an unknown number. I answered carefully. A woman's voice whispered, "Claire, don't say my name. I've been hiding. They know you're looking." My heart nearly stopped. Before I could answer, she said one sentence that changed everything. "The will your stepmother showed everyone is fake." Then, the call disconnected. The call ended before I could say a single word. I called the number back, switched off. My hands were shaking. Olivia was alive, and she knew the truth. I slipped the blue envelope into my bag and hurried out of the office. The moment I stepped outside, a black SUV was parked across the street. Its engine was running. The windows were completely tinted. Something felt wrong. I quickly got into my car and drove away. As I looked in my rearview mirror, the SUV followed me. Every turn I made, it made two. My heart pounded. I took 3 random turns through downtown. Still there, someone was watching me. Finally, I pulled into a crowded shopping center. The SUV stopped at the entrance. After a few seconds, it slowly drove away. Whoever they were, they didn't want attention. That evening, I searched through every old email my father had ever sent me. Nothing. Then I remembered something. Dad never trusted technology. He always wrote important things in a small black notebook he carried everywhere, but after his death, the notebook had disappeared. The next morning, I visited Mr. Harris again. When I asked about the notebook, his face turned pale. "I saw Victoria take it the night your father died," he whispered. "She burned something in the fireplace." Burned it? I rushed back to the mansion. Victoria was hosting a charity luncheon. The house was full of guests. No one noticed as I quietly slipped inside through the back entrance. I walked straight to the old library. The fireplace was cold now, but ashes still covered the bottom. Using a poker, I carefully searched through them. Most of the papers had turned to dust. Then, I found a half-burned page. Only a few words were still readable. "Safe deposit box 317? My eyes widened. A safe deposit box. That had to be where Dad hid the real documents. Just then, a slow clap echoed behind me. I froze. Victoria stood in the doorway with a cold smile. "Looking for something, Claire?" Behind her stood 2 security guards. She stepped closer and whispered, "You should have accepted your loss. You have no idea what you're getting yourself into." She reached into my bag, pulled out the blue envelope, and tore it in half. Then she smiled. Game over. But Victoria didn't realize one thing. Before coming to the mansion, I had already taken photos of every page inside the envelope and hidden the memory card somewhere she would never find. Victoria smiled as she tore the blue envelope into pieces. "You've lost, Claire." I looked her straight in the eyes. "No. You just made your biggest mistake." She laughed. "Security, escort her out." As the guards dragged me toward the door, I didn't fight, because I already had what I needed. The photo of the letter and one clue: safe deposit box 317. The next morning, I walked into the bank my father had used for over 30 years. The manager looked at my ID, then his expression changed. "Miss Morgan, we've been expecting you." I frowned. "Expecting me?" He nodded. "Your father left strict instructions. If you came here with proof of your identity, box 317 belongs to you." My heart raced. Minutes later, the manager placed a small metal box in front of me. Inside were several documents: my father's original will, his business records, bank statements, and a flash drive labeled, "For Claire only." I plugged it into the manager's computer. A video appeared. It was my father. He looked directly into the camera. "If you're watching this, I wasn't given the chance to tell you goodbye." He took a deep breath. "Claire, if anyone presents another will, it's a forgery." I discovered that Victoria was working with my lawyer to steal everything after my death. I recorded every conversation. My eyes filled with tears. Then another video played. Victoria's voice echoed through the room. "Once James dies, Claire gets nothing. I'll own everything." The lawyer laughed. "No one will ever know." The bank manager looked at me in shock. "You need to take this to the police." 2 weeks later, the courtroom was silent. Victoria walked in wearing an expensive suit, smiling confidently. She believed she had already won. Then my attorney handed the judge the flash drive. The recordings played through the courtroom. Victoria's smile disappeared. The fake will, the conspiracy, the stolen inheritance, Everything was exposed. The judge ruled the forged will invalid. Victoria and the corrupt lawyer were arrested for fraud, forgery, and conspiracy. The company, the house, every asset was returned to me. A month later, I stood in my father's office one last time. I looked at his photograph and smiled. I kept my promise, Dad. Instead of seeking revenge forever, I made a different choice. I created the James Morgan Foundation, helping young students who couldn't afford college, the dream my father always believed in. As for Victoria, she lost everything she tried to steal, and for the first time in a very long time, justice finally won.